Jamaica, the land of wood, water, and reggae. When people hear the word Jamaica, I think a lot of things come to mind. Musicians, Shutters the movie, Mary Jane, and I can't say anything else because I really don't want this video to get age restricted, and even the legendary Bob Marley. But honestly, I don't think people really get that Jamaica has a huge, diverse population. I mean, personally, I've met people that genuinely think that we live in coconut tree houses and don't have Wi-Fi. And if you want to guess what country those persons are from, I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with Erica. So in this video, I decided to shed some light on my experience as a Jamaican content creator. Now let me say from now that my particular area of expertise is videography, but I am speaking generally about making content. Alright, so let me just give you guys some backstory. I think I have a fairly interesting backstory. I spent most of my childhood dreams of being a musician, but after the harsh reality of growing up and realizing I probably wasn't going to post beats on SoundCloud and get discovered by Dr. Dre, I decided to get a job and support my way through college. And let me tell you, this was absolute hell. I mean, I had work experience for most of my life, pretty much since I was 16. I never really had a problem with working per se, but actually going into the real world and the real working scenario is an entirely different story. I won't say where I was working at the time, but it was in the customer care field for a popular call center in Jamaica. And the work experience nearly drove me insane. I think since I was little, I've always been kind of big on freedom. To freedom! Let me tell you, call centers aren't exactly the place you go to if you want freedom. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I was really grateful to be making money. And if I'm being fair, I do think call centers are one of the few places that an entry-level person, in Jamaica particularly, can get a decent salary from. So firstly, to actually make decent money, and by decent, I mean the ability to go to work and buy food for the following week, because if I had to pay a rent, I don't think I could have managed. But yeah, just to make enough for that, I'd have to do some crazy overtime. And then, little me at the time didn't know that I end up losing most of that in taxes. Because I mean, yeah, why teach about taxes in school? Trigonometry is definitely where it's at. So with all the drama, my physical and mental health really started to decline. And I was actively searching for my way out. I feel like I tried every single business that came to mind. I tried blogging, I was on Fiverr, I really was on my online grind trying to find any escape out. And then my cousin at the time, who was a really big wedding photographer in Jamaica, he mentioned to me, like, I don't remember what the conversation was, but he basically said in passing that, you know, I'd really like to hire you as an assistant. And then basically, one of the most impulsive things I've ever done in my entire life, I used my entire month's pay to buy a camera. Unfortunately, I had to borrow the money to go to work the next week, but I was like, yo, this is my escape out, like, why not put all my money inside? So after making the purchase, I go up to my cousin and I'm like, hey, can I be your assistant now? And he was like, yeah, just learn to use the camera. At the time, I felt a little like bamboozled because I'm like, why tell me you want an assistant? And then when I'm like, hey, I'm here to assist, you're like, yeah, go learn. But honestly, I feel like that was for the best. Like, he was more so trying to encourage me to be proactive and to kind of have free thinking, because when you're in the creative space, especially as someone that, you know, has not had lots of experience in like doing creative stuff and doing business stuff, it's super important to be like a really good thinker, because you'd be surprised as to how much information is out there that nobody actually pays attention to. If you guys want to hear that story of how I got into content creation, you can let me know in the comments. So anyways, fast forward 6 or 7 years later, and here I am. And no, I'm not going to tell you my age, but I'm starting to feel pretty old. What's all that yelling? Overcoming obstacles. Now let me say this with the utmost respect. If you can make it in Jamaica as a content creator, you can probably make it almost anywhere. Jamaica is one of the hardest places to establish a career as a creator. I mean, understandably so, we are a developing country, and we had a fairly rough history. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to attribute success to your country, but let's be real. Access to resources, opportunities, and I mean all kind of other things are going to play a role in what people end up doing in their lives. For me personally as a videographer, we literally have to spend almost double the cost to import gear into the country, which alone is a huge obstacle for most people trying to get into the craft in the first place. And then you can tie that with the fact that persons find it really hard to pay a local person, but they'll like fly in somebody internationally and pay like double or triple simply because they hear an accent, or they just assume that you get better quality when you work with people that aren't local. Now, I feel like as a black creator, you have to try twice as hard to seem professional, even in a predominantly black country. And guys, I'm not trying to pull the whole race card. This isn't a video about race. Just keeping it honest as my experience. I know persons might be like, wow, you're from Jamaica. There's no such thing as like racism or classism, but it does exist. It's just not in the way you'd see it in probably like America or Canada. And honestly, I think that's just a part of the game. You just have to understand that, you know, there's still that part to factor in. Becoming a business. Now, I have to say a crucial part of being a successful content creator is establishing yourself as a business. And this doesn't mean just going to register your business. It literally means establishing rules, norms, especially when dealing with clients. Many of us, and I mean many of us, including me, have to learn the hard way that if rules don't exist, people try to get away with almost anything. I've literally had work stolen, I've shown up for work and not been paid. I mean, almost any bad thing that could happen has probably happened. But luckily, they're all pretty much learning experiences. I think sometimes it's better to learn early. Establishing a business isn't too hard in Jamaica. Most of the stuff that you'd want to learn business-wise is available on YouTube. Opening and running a business here in terms of like the legal aspects, it's really not that difficult. I think it's fairly easy for anyone, local or international, to open and run a business here legally and have not much problems. Now, what I will say is a big gripe of mine. I think like financial institutions aren't very friendly towards creatives. They don't particularly love freelancers, and we're typically seen as high risk, which I guess we can always beat that by just earning enough to match what we need. Because unlike someone who has a formal job, you can always do things like promote, take on more jobs, or just take higher paying jobs, so that can kind of circumvent for any issues. But you know, if you are starting out and you need that initial investment, it might be a little bit hard for you. So this one right now, this one right here, Imposter Syndrome. So guys, on the agenda of being a content creator in Jamaica, one of the most crucial things that I think we face a lot, or even me personally, I don't know about you, you can let me know in the comments, but generally I have a hard time accepting my accomplishments. It's like people could tell me constantly how lucky I am to have a job like mine and how they really wish they were me. But all it really sounds like is, wow, you took the easy way out. I wish I was doing nothing all day. And it kind of makes me feel like, maybe I should have went to school and finished my degree. And then I remember that most of my friends who have degrees, they don't often work jobs related to their career. Like they oftentimes work like random jobs. And a lot of them are still in debt. A lot of them took student loans to start, you know, going to school, and they still don't make that much to pay them off. So it's like, I'm debt free, I have a business, but does anyone really see it that way? Well, before you guys attack me in the comments, I'm in no way telling everybody to leave their jobs and become content creators, because to be frank, not everyone is cut out for content creation. Not everyone is gonna make it, and that is totally fine. I just found what works for me, but something I've noticed is even if you've made it all the way to the top of the race, and let me not say I'm on the top, I'm not saying I'm on the top, guys. It's like, even if you're moderately successful, or you're successful in terms of what you want, some people still don't see creative careers as professional. They just see it as something that's easy. And I think I've gotten to the point where I don't have any intention of debating that, because I mean, in my heart, I know I'm 10 times happier owning my own business and having the freedom to choose what I work on and when I work on it. But it's like there's this little monster in my head that basically says, listen, you need a piece of paper to be a professional. You need that degree. And I guess probably over time, or maybe some therapy, they'll probably go away. All right, so mental health and burnout. So this might be more of a personal thing again, but again, talking about my experience, so probably it is gonna be personal. I can't speak with every person. But when I just got started, I was constantly in full gear. It was like I needed to push myself constantly if I ever wanted to become full-time. But over the years, even after things kind of stabilized, I still kept pushing. And the new reason was because I didn't want things to go back to how they were before. I think the ironic part about being a freelancer, a content creator, or even an entrepreneur is that you're usually in charge of how often you work. And because you don't have an actual person telling you like, okay, clock out, you just always end up in work mode. Like, I feel like I was in work mode, or still am in work mode, like 24/7, despite all your friends thinking you nothing all day. Most people think literally you just, walk around doing nothing. And trust me, if I had $1 for every time I've heard a content creator say that, yo, I'm so burnt out, I'm so tired, I could retire. Because right now, in this fast-paced social media game, it's really hard to balance your mental health, especially if you're trying to do it full-time. It's still a work in progress for me right now, but I try sometimes to take my weekends off, or at least to schedule time where I just chill and not work. The only problem is I relax and work at the same place. So it's like my body doesn't really know that, okay, you're home, you don't have to work, because I literally play games and I edit on the same computer. So it's so confused all the time. It's like, once I turn on the computer, should I work? Should I play? What am I doing? Okay, here's another fun one, being a content creator in Jamaica. The stereotypes. So let me give you some common ones that I hear. Feel free to let me know some ones that you guys hear in the comments. Oh my God, you're so creative. I could never do anything you do. Yes, Olivia, I am creative. But I mean, think about it. Almost everyone on earth is creative. I have this argument all the time. I know being a content creator involves being creative. It involves being creative for a living. But if you really think about it, nobody just wakes up every day with inspiration. There's much more to being a content creator than just having creativity. I honestly think everyone on earth is creative. They just probably don't know how to package it in a format that everybody can consume. I think it comes down more to learning about the space than just being creative. Summing it up to only creativity sort of undermines all the hard work that goes into the craft. It's literally hours of learning and practicing. I mean, think about it. An artist has to learn art. Yeah, they can be innately good, but there is principles that go into art versus music, versus photography, whatever. Like, it's not just about being creative. You have to literally understand the format, which most people have some ability to understand the format. Next one. Wow, I wish I was doing what I love. It's like you never work a day in your life. So with this one, I feel like I want to fight whenever I hear this phrase. Last time I checked, I don't think anyone actually loves work. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying people don't enjoy what they do, but work is work. As far as I know, people usually work for money. And if we didn't need money, we probably wouldn't be working. Some jobs are more tolerable than others. I mean, I kid you not, I am so glad that I'm able to do what I do right now. Some jobs are really fun, and some jobs are just really horrible. But that doesn't mean that once you're in a creative field, you don't feel like you're working. At the end of the day, there's always going to be some level of compromise once you're working for money. Passion and commercialism just doesn't work. And yes, work will still feel like work, because that's exactly what it is. If you want to never feel like you're working, then don't work. Also, don't try to monetize your passions if you're trying to feel like you don't want to work. Oh, I love your content. What kind of camera do you use? Now guys, this thing isn't a Jamaican problem. It's generally across the board. But let me just say, like, how good your content is not tied to what kind of camera you use. Trust me, content over camera. Like, yes, cameras play a role, but you don't need to have the most expensive camera to make good content. People care about the subject, about the story, all those things. Don't ask content creators or photographers, videographers, what kind of cameras they use. Learn about the craft, learn about the art, and trust me, they'll go so much further. Now again, being a content creator in Jamaica is a very fun experience, but I do feel people often have this unrealistic view. I don't think they just think that our lives are just like one big party with lots of women and money and alcohol. But honestly, lots of persons are struggling just to break even. So like, don't be fooled and think like everyone out here is having this amazing time. And next thing that is really like, weird for me is when persons just think that, okay, you're basically a jack of all trades. So for instance, I'm a photographer and a videographer. So I shoot videos and I also take pictures. But you'd not believe how often people call me asking me to Photoshop something for them or to design a flyer. And I'm like, you are aware that these are totally different skills. I've never ever said, okay, I'm a graphic designer, but it's almost like people can't tell the difference. It's like once you're creative, you do almost everything. At the end of the day, content creation is a job just like any other. It involves staying up late, editing videos, and coming up with new and creative ideas. And I feel like I'm one of the lucky ones because I actually edit professionally. For all those other persons who have to be learning skills, it's definitely a pain. We have to constantly be thinking about our next project and how to make it stand out from the rest. And yes, while we do enjoy the occasional fun work day or a fun client, I'm gonna say at least 7 out of 10 of them are probably gonna drive you insane. And you have to be focused and productive if you really want to succeed. And I know this video is very gloomy, and it probably is gloomy right now because that's how I feel. But the good news is that once we've proven ourselves and we work hard, the stereotypes start to fade away. We are shown that even in a tropical paradise like Jamaica, content creation is a serious business, and we take it just as seriously as anyone else in any other location. It's all about finding the balance between work and play, and using our unique environment and culture to our advantage. Now, at the end of the day, if you guys need a fire creative, a fire content creator, Jamaica has some really dope ones, and we have managed to beat all those struggles. So definitely check us out. And the last thing, I think the last part of this video is just remember why it started. So again, I know overall the tone of this may have been a little bit disheartening, but there's lots of glamour content about content creation. I think this was more to give you guys a realistic expectation, a realistic approach. And I just want to say, like, if you got into this to create a living for yourself and to, you know, enjoy what you do more, at least, because at the end of the day, like, you know, there are worse things out there to do. If you want to do something that you like doing, you're gonna have to remember that there's gonna be some level of compromise, and you have to just remember why you started in the first place. Being a content creator is not some get-rich-quick scheme. If that's what you're looking for, it's probably not for you. For every successful creator out there, there are hundreds, if not millions, who didn't make it. But if you genuinely have a love for what you do and you want to create an income out of it, just remember that this is going to be a long-term game. And you may even realize monetizing your passion isn't always the most fulfilling world. Overall, I'm glad I made that choice. It's definitely worked for me. I enjoy being, you know, Jamaican and having my unique Jamaican experience. I think it allows me to survive or strive harder in you know, other environments that might be harder or easier. And if you're already a content creator here, tell me what it's been like for you. I don't know where you're from. If you're from Jamaica, let me know what's been some of your experiences. If you're from another country, let me know what it's like. Thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. And the YouTube algorithm is telling me that this video right here is gonna help you on your content creation journey. Bless.